Ken, are you aware that we're going to be recording this?
Yes.
Okay. Oh. Ken, are you aware that we're going to be recording this?
Yes.
Great. Hi, everyone. We are here today with Ken Arellano. He's the State Registered Apprenticeship Consultant, and he's going to talk to us today about apprenticeships, how to get into one, how to start your own. And I would say we're just going to let Ken get rolling. So Ken, when you're ready to go, please do so. Thank you for being here.
Great. Well, Derek and John, thank you very much for this opportunity. I really appreciate this ability to talk about registered apprenticeships with the Denver Construction Careers Pilot and your team. Again, my name is Ken Arellano. I am one of two statewide registered apprenticeship consultants. Our task and mission is to grow and expand registered apprenticeship programs throughout the state of Colorado, as well as to connect employers, if they don't already have a relationship, with their current business services team within their local area. So today, again, I'm going to talk about registered apprenticeships. And what we're going to do today is talk about the Senate Bill 19-196, also talk about the key components of a registered apprenticeship. What does it mean to be a sponsor? And then give examples of apprenticeship programs. We're also going to talk about developing a program and what does it take, as well as what is a work process and how does it relate to the on-the-job learning and the related instruction. Also give some misnomers about apprenticeship programs, and then really how to work with myself and Cat Plaza as we can assist you, any business employer, in creating an apprenticeship program. So now we're going to jump into the Colorado Quality Apprenticeship Act, Training Act of 2019. This is the Senate Bill 19-196. Really what this bill is it just requires a portion of the program to be a portion of the program to have registered apprentices in that program or on that job. And so it's going to begin in July 1st of 2021. I have the link here if you'd like to see the complete bill. But again, it is going to require programs or employers who bid on federal jobs to have apprenticeship programs and work with apprentices within that job.
Hey, can I jump in on this slide, because this is, I think, for those who are listening, a very important element of what you need to understand as it relates to what the requirements are or what the landscape is going to be looking like for apprenticeship utilization. And this is one bill that really does require contractors that in the electrical and the mechanical and the plumbing trades to really have registered apprentices as a part of their projects. And you know, but I think it's important that we make a distinction as well. These are for state buildings. There are some exemptions, like the city and county of Denver is exempt. Some towns and some special districts and municipalities also are exempt from this. But if you are going to be involved in bidding on state projects, these are some of the things that you'll have to understand. So Ken, I appreciate you bringing that to us, because a lot of times we don't understand some of what the requirements are related to our state requirements. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you, Derek, for also highlighting, again, the apprenticeable occupations, which is, again, that mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. So what you're going to see here and what you're going to hear is that employers are always the center of apprenticeships. Without an employer, we cannot have an apprenticeship program. Now, the key components of a registered apprenticeship are 4, with the 5th, with the 4 that you can see here, and the 5th is what I just spoke of, which is that employer. So again, without an employer, we cannot have a registered apprenticeship program. Why that is because the employer provides that on-the-job learning. That is a minimum of 2,000 hours of structured and supervised OJL, on-the-job learning. That is a minimum of 1 full year. And then also it incorporates the related instruction. Now the related instruction is a minimum of 144 hours per year. And then it also is incorporated with colleges, unions, online, a private training provider, or internally at a company. It also can be a combination of several of these, so it can be online and internally at the company, or through a college and internally at a company. So that related instruction is an important piece in this. You'll also see it includes a wage progression. That wage progression is determined by the employer. In the trades, it typically happens after X amount of hours. And so again, you as the employer, you decide when that wage progression happens. And then at the end, the apprentice will receive a nationally occupational credential. This is given by the U.S. Department of Labor. It has the apprentice's name and then the apprenticeship program that they have completed successfully. So as you can see here with the related instruction and the classroom education and the wage progression, we can get a skilled and credentialed workforce through a registered apprenticeship program. Next, we're going to talk about and highlight the 4 important pieces of a registered apprenticeship. Again, like I said before, it includes an employer, so we must have at least one employer, and then it is why is because the employer drives the designing and the creation of that registered of that related instruction. And like I said prior, is that employer provides that on-the-job or work-based learning. Now with the educational provider, or what's called the related instruction, that can be provided by the employer. Again, it can be taught by the community college, a tech school, a 4-year institution, or the K-12. Or again, it could be done also through a labor group or a union. The sponsor, now this is the most important piece. They're the head of the registered apprenticeship. The sponsor is responsible for administering the program. I'll talk a little bit more about in the next slide what to know about sponsorships, but just to let you know and plant the seed right now is that sponsor is responsible for the program. Now, who can be a sponsor? Really, anyone can be a sponsor. It could be an employer, an industry association, a labor partnership, a union. It can be an educational provider, a community-based organization, a chamber. As you can see, anyone who wants to be responsible for administering the program. And then the supportive services. Now, this is the important piece to source candidates as well as to ensure that the apprentices are successful in their apprenticeship program. So this can be a workforce center, a nonprofit, community-based organization, or faith-based center. So this is how we can support the apprentices. But I want you to know there are some key things to know about a sponsorship. The sponsor maintains and registers the apprentices into the RAPIDS database. This is provided by the U.S. Department of Labor, and again tracks the kind of life cycle of the apprentice. They also develop and update they develop and maintain the Apprenticeship Standards, which include the work process and related instruction. And again, they're responsible for maintaining the records in accordance to the Department of Labor. So that's that related instruction piece, the work process, the proof of wage increase, any employer equal opportunity policy, those hiring procedures, and any HR function. They also prepare and participate and resolve any Department of Labor program audits. So if an apprentice has a question or concern about the program, the sponsor is going to work with the U.S. Department of Labor. The important thing to know here is that the sponsor needs to have some sort of centralized record keeping system. Now, it could be that you contract out your payroll or your HR function to that is completely fine, as long as the U.S. Department of Labor knows when they have a question about a wage increase or a question about how many hours your apprentice has worked, they know that you have someone that you can go to. Or even if it's something as simple as a Excel spreadsheet, again, the small mom and pop organizations might not have access to something that or want to partner with a contract out their services because again, they're under 10. So as long as if it's on a spreadsheet, that's fine. They just want to know and see that if you have a question regarding hours, pay increase, that the sponsor can easily access that and it's in one place. What I'm going to talk about is the benefits of being a sponsor. So the sponsor is, they own the program. And by owning the program, you have more control of the process. Another great thing is you can build on existing training or existing curriculum that they may have. So again, it might be an association. Again, if it's a small mom and pop organization, most employers have some sort of training curriculum or training program that already exists. So let's build upon that. You're also able to update the related instruction when you need to keep up with technology. There might be a new, new software, new program, new training that needs to happen. Again, by being the sponsor, you can easily update that related training when needed. And then as a sponsor, you're able to work with multiple employers. So if a sponsor is like a workforce board or association, you're able to work with multiple employers. And by working with multiple employers, you're able to avoid those employers competing for individuals, because they're all going to go through the same program and they're all going to have the same type of training. So those apprentices have the same opportunities. What next I'm going to talk about is how the apprenticeship, give examples of existing apprenticeship programs that we have and that we've created with the Denver Careers team. So the first one I'd like to talk about is IHC, Interstate Highway Construction. Now, as you can see, they are provide the on-the-job learning. They also serve the sponsor, so they're responsible for the program, and they also provide that related instruction. So they have complete control of the program, and what they do is they work with community partners to provide those supportive services and or training for their apprentices so that they are successful. We're going to hop to the right upper top, and that is the UCCS Colorado Cybersecurity Apprenticeship Program. Now that program, they work with multiple employers for the on-the-job learning. While UCCS, so the University of Colorado Springs, they serve as the sponsor, and they also provide the related instruction. So even though they're working with multiple employers, that single point of related instruction is all comes from the UCCS. And what UCCS does is they work with the workforce centers and also with themselves to provide those supportive services to ensure the candidates are successful. How they do that is they do that on the education side, and then on the workforce, they rely on workforce to help them and their apprentices be successful.
Ken, let me stop you there, because that,
Sure.
you mentioned one of the things on this slide that I know um, I've been a part of, and you guys have helped us with the IHC, the Highway Construction Project, to really help them develop their apprenticeship program. And this was an organization that I would say had a fairly robust internal training program, but they could never kind of structure it and mold it in a way that they could turn it into a registered apprenticeship program that could get to kind of industry-wide recognition, for that credential. Tell us, how you went about that, because when I was listening to you earlier, you were talking about related instruction and work-based learning, and so kind of, can you walk us through kind of how that process went?
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, I'm just going to talk about Centura, and then the next slide will easily talk about kind of how I worked with them on that,
Okay.
exploring the options.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely more than happy to.
Okay.
The Centura is just the last one to go over, and they are a large employer and they have multiple locations. So again, if you're an employer that would like to look at apprenticeship programs and you have multiple locations throughout the state or throughout the Denver metro area, this is a really good model to use, where the Centura does the on-the-job learning, and they are, again, the sponsor, so responsible for the program, but they rely on Arapahoe Community College, Front Range Community College, and looking at partnering with Pikes Peak Community College to provide that related instruction. And what Centura does is they look at workforce in providing those supportive services. So to Derek's point, I'm going to talk to IHC and how IHC and we work together. So with IHC, we looked at exploring the options. They already had the position, which is machine operator. And so we looked at that position. There were already related instruction and on-the-job learning work processes that I could pull examples from. So what I did is worked with IHC to see which on-the-job learning, what skills were needed specifically for them. So we had an existing work process that we took. We were not reinventing the wheel, and then we tailored it to fit their needs. So we took off things, we added things that were specific to their organization. So once we developed that on-the-job learning, then we looked at the related instruction and determine what was needed and what we needed to add or take away for their apprenticeship program. By working with me, I helped them finalize that paperwork, which then we submitted to the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment. And so what the paperwork we use is called our apprenticeship development form. And what's great about that is it has all the information that we need to register your apprenticeship, so that when we send it to the U.S. Department of Labor, it gets approved and it gets easily moved forward to the ETPL, the Eligible Training Providers List, and the Directory opt-in. Those two, the ETPL, is important, especially if you're looking to access workforce funds. So if you're a small mom and pop organization or a large organization that is looking to tap into utilizing the tuition reimbursement or to partner with workforce in assisting the apprentices so that they either have the training paid for at either through workforce or themselves. What we want to do is make that training low cost or no cost to them. again, by working and partnering with workforce funds. I'm not going to go into the funding because it all depends and varies. What we'll want to do is, what I will do is connect you with your local area, and they can talk more about funding with you. And then the directory opt-in that's just so that individuals can find you. So it is like a directory that has all the apprenticeship programs within Colorado, and it's a way for individuals to find your apprenticeship program. The second line, the second continuum, is the working with workforce. So that would be, the Derek and John and their team on, working with the recruitment, initiating recruitment. So again, we connect you with your local area to ensure that you have the resources needed so that we can source and recruit your candidates for you if you choose to work with us, which we hope you do. And then at the end, we look at how we can support those apprentices, either through a individual training account that's helping with the education piece, or just providing basic supportive services as transportation, perhaps help with tools, etc. You guys have any questions or any thoughts, John and Derek?
No.
I really do appreciate how you walk through this with us, and I do have one question, because one of the things that I've heard is this takes so long, and it's so much work, and it costs so much for us to do, and I had the experience of going through that process with you guys. Can you help kind of dispel some of that myth about, the arduous task that this takes? And obviously, depending on how much training your company has already established, it makes it easier. But can you tell us a little about that? Because, I hear that a lot. And so if you can, dispel some of that myth.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it doesn't take, and what Derek's kind of what Derek's talking about is most employers really are afraid of and find the process very daunting. And so now I'll talk about the process in developing a program. And what you'll see is it's, again, with the trades, it's very easy because the occupations have been or are already defined and have been defined for some time. So once we develop the program, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the occupation and find out what occupation you are looking for. So like we spoke earlier in the presentation, about plumbing, mechanical, and electrical. Those are already apprenticeable occupations. Those already have existing work processes. And like I said with IHC, what we'll do is I will provide those work processes, those examples for you, so you can see and determine which is best for your organization, your company, and how we can tweak so that it's more customized for you as the employer. So what we do is, again, we look at the position, we develop the standards, and like I said before, we have a form, the apprenticeship development form, that we look at and complete, which also has the work process and related instruction. Talk a little bit more about that a little later, and so we'll do a deeper dive. And again, those conditions of employment. So how are you going to recruit individuals, as well as that wage increase that I spoke earlier about. And again, kind of what Derek was saying is, once I help you complete the paperwork, what you'll see is we will make sure that your I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and we'll submit that with the with the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment. They will ensure that we have everything. And the reason we do this is we want to make sure that you have the tools, you feel comfortable to talk to USDOL, so when they have questions regarding your program, you can easily answer those. So as you can see, just with the easily 3-step process, which I'm helping and guiding you along the way. The next, this one is again identifying the occupation. So there's an apprenticeable occupations list. So we talked about electrical, mechanical, and plumbing, but there's pipe fitters, steel fabrication. But this is also, if you are not in the trades and you're listening to this, there is an apprenticeable occupations list, which has over 1,000 occupations that are also not trades focused. In fact, I'm working with a massage therapist with a company who does massage therapy, and they're looking at apprenticing that occupation, which is already apprenticeable. So as you can see and hear, there's a variety of occupations on that list. It'll also tell you what the length of the program is and what type of program. Is it a competency-based? So CB stands for competency-based, HB is hybrid, and TB is time-based. All trades apprenticeship programs are time-based. And so I didn't go through the different types because, again, this is focused on the construction, which construction is time-based. And it's okay to retitle something. So if we find something pretty close, again, all of the trades are going to be already approved. So we're good on that end. If we're looking at starting a new occupation, that's not on the list. It's going to take anywhere from 90 to 120 days. What we're hearing, that's being told by the U.S. Department of Labor. What we're hearing from our employers, it can take anywhere from 3 to 6 months, maybe even longer, depending on what the occupation is. And then again, I can help you start with the ONET. So again, I am here and available to you to help you kind of navigate this process. And you'll start to see here by determining the on-the-job learning. So again, that's what's called the work process, and that needs that 2,001 year hours. We want to make sure that the on-the-job learning we have a mentor, and that mentor and apprenticeship and mentor time is spent together and supervised. Now, it doesn't mean, I want to make sure and be clear, it doesn't mean that, again, depending on the industry, it doesn't mean that you're going to be tied at the hip 24/7 with that apprentice. But we want to make sure that the apprentice has some oversight in that. So wanted to ensure that I talked about that and made sure that that was mentioned. We can again look at training or job descriptions to build from, like Derek said earlier with IHC. We just took what they had existing and created it and tailored it to fit what their needs were. And again, you are able to use myself or my counterpart, Cat Plaza, as a resource to help you navigate this process. After we do that, again, we're going to look at the related instruction, and that is a minimum of 144 hours per year, and it can be delivered in any format. So it can be delivered in person, online, a combination of the two, and then you as the employer determine if you want to pay your apprentice for those in-class learning hours. And again, one of the important things is that your related instruction needs to align with the on-the-job learning. Again, can be taught in-house, and again, what we want to just ensure is that what they're learning and kind of online or in books or being taught is that they're applying it, that they're applying it on the job. And what's great is you can use stackable credentials, so forklift certificate, OSHA. You can use those certificates as stackable credentials for your apprentices, and perhaps give them wage increases once they continue to build upon those certifications or credentials. Now, here's some of those misnomers that I kind of wanted to, and that Derek spoke of earlier, that I would like to talk about. Is that register, like you have like you could hear, and I've been talking throughout the presentation, is registered apprenticeships are employer driven. An apprenticeship program, you only need to have one apprentice. So for those small mom and pop organizations, businesses, you only need to have one apprentice in your program. And you also have 1 year to register your first apprentice. So let's just say that you are eager, you go through the program, or you're unsure, but no, you really will have an apprentice in your program, exactly kind of like the July date of the new Senate bill. And you go, great, I want to kind of be hopping on this right now so that when July 1st happens, I have my program in place. You have 1 full year to register your first apprentice. And you also can have your apprentice be an existing employee. So you can upskill that apprentice and really provide them a career path within your organization, your company. And then also the Registered Apprenticeship Program, this is not in the trades, unfortunately, but in anything outside the trades, can be as short as 12 months or 2,000 hours. And then the other great thing with apprenticeship programs, and is that the flexibility to add employers and education providers. Again, as a sponsor, you can do that fairly easy. So this is some light reading. So these are the apprenticeship standards and all that it entails. So here's the boilerplates to look at that. We I don't want to scare anyone here who's listening or watching this presentation, because this seems to be a lot. So again, what Derek talked about earlier with IHC and other employers about feeling very overwhelmed and this being a daunting process, is note that with myself and with Kat, we have this apprenticeship development form that we have all of this information for you, and we work with you on this process in getting it completed so that it can be submitted to CDLE, the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment. And then after that, it'll get submitted to our Office of Apprenticeship, which you can see Cynthia McLean, her name, and her team will then approve your apprenticeship program. Now, if I have piqued your interest and you would like to learn more about apprenticeship programs, or you're looking at creating one, we would love to speak to you and ask you to reach out to myself, Ken Arellano, or my counterpart, Kat Plaza, with our email addresses below, or you can reach out to us at apprenticeship@arapahogov.com. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate this. Derek or John, is there any other last minute questions? Is there anything that you think I've forgotten or would like to highlight or reiterate?
I think you've done a fantastic job of explaining this, and so I don't really have any other questions or comments. I just first of all want to thank you for taking the time to join us today, and also thanking you publicly for all the work that you put in to make sure the Pena Boulevard project is got apprentices up and running when before there were none. So kudos to you. Thank you, sir.
Right. I mirror Derek's sentiments there. And I do want to say again, anybody watching this video that's looking at maybe doing their own apprenticeship, it can be daunting. And we've heard that from a lot of people, and we've already said that today. That's kind of a theme that we've heard. But I just want to say from personal experience, everybody listening out there, Ken will walk you through this, and kind of you'll be able to sleep at night while you're doing this, because Ken will be able to walk you through it and really make it an easy process for you. So I strongly encourage you to reach out to Ken or Kat, or reach out to the DCCP team, Derek and myself, and we'll get you rolling, get you in touch with Ken's team, and we can get this set up for you. So Ken, I want to appreciate you taking the time today to talk to us. And we may have you back for some other follow-ups on this, because I know this is a huge topic for people, and it's a scary one. So we might have you back as well. I wanted to thank you again.
Well, thank you. Yes, again, like John and Derek said, or contact whomever you feel comfortable with. I am more than happy. That is, again, our role. That's why these positions were created, is because they were very daunting. We were hearing from employers. It was extremely daunting. They didn't have kind of direction. So these positions were created exactly for that reason, is to help employers in that process. So thank you again. We'll look forward to any and further conversations. I appreciate your time, and you have a beautiful day.
Thanks. You too, Ken.
Thank you.